justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Amendola, Ms. Glasser. Here. Ms. Damitz. Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Excuse me, Ms. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Lavasser.
Here.
Ms. Amendola.
Here.
Mayor Borough. Here. Solicitor Gladys.
Here.
Engineer Strunk.
Here.
Public Works Director Kozarowski.
Here.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the bill list dated September 25th, 2017. So moved.
Second?
Moved and second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes dated September 11, 2017.
So moved. Second?
Moved and second, any discussion on the minutes? Hearing no discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. I have one person sign up for citizens' comments regarding agenda item, correct?
Mhm.
If you could come up and state your name.
Charlie,
You want this?
Charlie, thank you. I know you talked about it last time, so I don't know what you decided since the last meeting, but I just wanted to reiterate what I've stated before, that I don't think Crafton Council should be in the business of recommending or suggesting to anybody what they should look into. Because, I mean, what about the local gas company, the water company? They have their own plans. Did you look into them, compare them to this one? Or, price them? It just seems like you're getting money for this, so and they came to you and you went forward without doing due diligence, checking everything else out. But even if this is the best plan, I don't think council should be recommending or suggesting that. Do you recommend what car insurance you should get or house insurance? Compare that. To me, that's the same thing. So
Okay,
I don't know.
thank you. You came in, I'm sorry, the gentleman sitting here on the end, you came in, you're good, okay. I will acknowledge the following reports. The treasurer's report, the financial report, Act 511 and trust collection report, the property tax collection report, the police report, the EMS report, the ordinance officer's report, the building inspection report, the public works report, the fire department report, and the library report. Mr. Mayor. Okay, moving on then to the engineer's report.
All right, as you all know, the road program has started a couple weeks in at this point. Probably a little less than half of the roads are paved at this point. We got a lot going on. There's milling, there's paving, we've got concrete work that's complete. So we're doing our best to not inconvenience the residents. We understand that this is sometimes inconvenient, but it's ongoing. And if you have any questions, let me know. The rain garden project.
Record looks good.
It does, all right, good.
It's coming along.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, oh, yes. We did talk to the contractor about Clearview and Willard. We asked him to go, we went out there with them and we said, hey, is there any, what can we do to make this better? His suggestion was nothing. His concern is, well, first of all, he wouldn't touch it. His concern was, I go out there, I mill this, I'm afraid of creating a worse problem, or at best, it's the same. Like you have the same issue if I come in here, mill it, and resurface it. So his biggest contention is that hill is so steep coming down there. The bottom line is people need to slow down and stop, make a wide turn to get through it, and that was his. So that's his recommendation. If you guys want us to, we can get some other paving companies to take a look at it. But we tried to get Up Around to go out there and do something with it, and they don't have any. They don't want to touch it. So that's basically, you don't want to take on liability if it doesn't work. So anyway, I know that's been an issue. I just wanted to bring it up. Again, if you want us to look into it further, we can. We talked about a couple different scenarios, cutting down the crown on Clearview, and he just seems to think if you do too much to it, you're going to cause some drainage problems, and you're going to more upset residents with drainage problem than you will with a couple of them scraping on the road. And, you know, obviously we don't want cars scraping on the road, but it just, you know, that's kind of where we are with that, so.
Okay, yeah, it seems like there's basically irreparable damage from the initial, you know, setting of the storm sewer and the other improvements we made back in phase 2 of the Clearview project. So it's, I guess we have to live with the way it is, so thank you.
Right, well, I think, like I said, I think part of the issue is the steepness of Willard. It's just how it's developed and, you know, but yeah, I think that's kind of where we are right now with it. Again, if you want us, we can look at some other options.
Yeah, but there's many other priorities in the borough, so we'll just have to deal with the repercussions as time goes on, so thank you.
We had the same problem on Student Street. You go down West Crafton and there were scrapes in the road, and the state did that. And it's just,
So vehicles that have a lot of behind the rear axle, the distance, and basically the scrapes are from the buses. And those guys have learned to get on there, go real slow, make a wide turn, you know, and they can clearly live. But any car that would be down there at a normal speed through that intersection, they're not gonna drag by. It's just the longer vehicles with the, like the bus has all that hanging off behind the axles. That's real driving.
In the, Mayor, we did a pre-construction drive-through with PennDOT, and I pointed that out to them before the road was even built and paved. You can see the old way it was, and I asked them to do any improvements they could with the crime and the intersection itself, to try and eliminate that scraping. So it was brought to the contractor's attention before, so apparently even that intersection couldn't have been enhanced and improved with prior knowledge before they did it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When they're paving Bradford Avenue, as I noticed, there's, you know, they were milling, doing whatever this morning. Are they going to go around the corners where the new ramps are, even though they're brick streets? Are they going to even it out? Because going from Crayton onto Noble Avenue, where the handicap ramps are, there would be no way you could get anyone in a wheelchair over those.
Yeah,
Because they did Noble Avenue, but they didn't seem to do the corner going around it.
Right, we're cutting into a few of the streets, including Creighton, to take back. We have to take out brick. You can't, if you overlay brick, it's gonna peel up in a couple of years.
Right.
So we're going back past the ADA ramps, cutting it, and then putting in a base and asphalt in there. So yeah, that should correct that issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll make the rest of these quick. The rain garden project, we are waiting for the return contracts, actually the next three. The rain garden project, the demolition project, and the manhole rehab project, we're waiting on return contracts. Once we get those, we'll bring them on here for Ann to sign and set up pre-con meetings to get those projects started. I know El Grande wants to move pretty quick on the Crafton Park project, so our hope is to get them kicked off in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll be started by the next council meeting on that project. The O&M projects, they're wrapping up. The lining projects are, the spot lining project's done. The manhole lining project, they have 2 liners left. One of them is dependent on an excavation repair. The CCTV and the preventive maintenance projects are complete. So the excavation contract has a couple repairs left. We're trying to get them back out here to finish those. So for the most part, it's fairly wrapped up, but you might see some digging in a couple different areas to finish those up. Really no update on the pool maintenance. We've not heard back from the bonding company. So we'll wait. Hopefully we'll hear something, you know, in the next week or so. We don't know when we're gonna hear back. And then Rob and our project manager Mike met on the 19th of September on the Green Light Grow grant application. Mike's gonna come up with 3 or 4 different options of how you guys could spend the money you guys have allocated for that project. And he should have that in the next week or so to share. So.
Okay.
I thought I heard in meeting that the funding for that has changed. Did you hear anything about that? It went from 50% to it would be 20%?
Yeah, that's what it was
It is-
originally.
it is
It's
Oh, it was,
20%.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why we were
20%.
gonna hurry up and get
Right.
ours in.
Okay.
They're giving
All
more
right.
money, yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's 20% match.
Okay.
which is great, yeah.
So while we are on the engineer's report, I'm just gonna go ahead and do these three motions so that everything is fresh if we have questions. So I will authorize, or I'll entertain a motion to authorize pay estimate number 1 and final for joint pipe lining project year 11, contract A, in the amount of $29,179.25 as recommended by the engineer and included in our 2017 sewer fund budget.
Second.
Moved and second, any additional discussion? No discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'll entertain a motion to authorize the pay estimate number 1 CCTV inspection and cleaning project year 7 in the amount of $20,169.62 as recommended by the engineer, also included in our 2017 sewer fund budget.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, any additional discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And finally, I'll entertain a motion to authorize pay estimate number 1 to El Grande Industries for the 2017 road paving project in the amount of $16,304.63 as recommended by the engineer and included in our road 2017 road fund budget.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and second, any additional discussion? All in favor then?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Anything else for the engineer? You guys? Nothing? Okay.
You talking about demolition?
Yeah, the demolition, right now, the contracts are out to the contractor, we're just waiting to get them back. And once we get them back, we'll set up a pre-con meeting with that.
Okay,
So as far as I know, we're still moving forward with the two
all right.
homes. So.
Okay. Nothing else then? Okay. Mr. Strasel?
Thank you. Two items, actually. First, the service line utility. We apparently have gotten a response from the company for some of the changes to the letter that we proposed after the last meeting. And that draft was included in council's packet. The other thing that we received were statistics as to how popular or unpopular the program was and how it's working. It looks like we have 72 people signed up for various levels of warranty protection. We've had apparently 12 warranty claims, and there's no indication any of the warranty claims have been denied. So, the draft letter in response, some of it's, particularly the third paragraph of the letter, doesn't make sense to me the way that it came back, and I guess maybe Ann will have to talk to them again to clarify what they mean. They are, Ann, can you speak to the changes that they agreed to?
They agreed that, they would have Crafton logo on the left-hand side and the service line warranties on the right-hand side, and actually, they were gonna sign the letter this time. And they incorporate like that. Pardon me, I'm
We've
sorry.
made some really good progress on.
I agree, right, and then,
I don't know if you had an opportunity to read, I'm sorry not to cut you off,
That's
this
okay.
third paragraph, it just kind of didn't flow well, so we were just gonna maybe have it reworded.
Yeah, no, I did not read it as closely as I should have, so I will.
It's okay.
It looks like they were going along the way that we had suggested, but they kind of cut their sentence off, so I don't know what they mean. Anyway,
So we'll get clarification before that.
yeah,
Okay.
before the letter goes out. Any questions on the
so
service
do
line?
we want to just get clarification? Is it okay to send it out? What's the
I think we
spiel?
need to clarify that third paragraph, because it just really does not make sense the way it's written.
Because like her email just said that, the way she put it is, it will be signed from them, so it will change the language of the letter a little. The only thing, the logo will still appear in the corner with ours as well. I'm waiting to put those changes to send to you as well, and then here's the stats for you.
So this paragraph is from their perspective, not
Right.
us speaking to the
Right.
residents.
So, it's gonna change,
Just a
The-
little.
yeah.
So it seems like we're gonna need one more draft before we're gonna approve anything, right?
So if we were to summarize, especially taking into account the citizens' comments earlier, that we are obligated under a contract, we discussed at previous meeting, that there's potential litigation that's not worth not pursuing, but endangering, and that we are being aggressive about toning down what looks like an endorsement from us, and that we're doing everything we can on that account, and that we have heard citizens' comments loud and clear, and are doing the best we can throughout the rest of this contract.
And we've got 2 more letters, you said.
this one and then one in the spring.
Does it have to say the Borough of Crafton?
It's not, it's gonna be signed by Service Line.
So that
Yeah, that
also
will
will be
change.
scratched? Okay,
Yeah, that will change,
that's much better, much better.
yeah.
Well, when we see the final product.
Okay.
Yeah, and that basically today, you've already said, well, we had 99 active orders, 12 claims, and the borough's revenue has been a whopping $265.50.
We could get a new book.
And, and I think just to push this one into the ground, I mean, the original idea was to make something available to our residents that, they could consider for something that is extremely important and that is tied to the health of the municipal infrastructure, and that's how it differs from, say, car insurance or something else. We are talking about the health of the infrastructure of the municipality. And all intentions were good.
Thank you.
Okay, and one more quick comment on the splash pool. We have not heard from the bonding company yet, but it's on our list of things we need for this week to contact them, so we'll be reporting back at the next meeting.
So what is the rest of our timeline look like? We give, we mailed it on the 23rd of August. It's now a month later. You reach out one more time and then,
Well, we have the option to sue them, but for the amount of money that's involved in the fix and the expense of litigating, it's worth trying to work it out with them in the first instance.
I don't want this to just continue to linger every time and keep giving,
Right.
where, we have to set some kind of line in the sand.
Right.
So,
Well, after the materials that were sent to the bonding company, by now, we would assume that they've had a chance to digest them, so we're going to contact them this week.
okay, thank you.
So could we, if this does drag on,
It's not gonna drag on.
a day or two, should we get an estimate to have another company come out and take a look at it and see how much it's gonna cost for somebody to come in and do the repair work? Is that an option?
We'll defer to the engineering department.
Definitely do that.
Just so we
Probably not a
know,
bad idea.
just so we can
Well-
compare, if it's gonna take, more letters, or, more legal action or whatever, and that's gonna be more of an expense.
Given the size of the claim, okay, I think that the bonding company is gonna want to resolve this one, I think, because I don't think they're gonna wanna spend the money to litigate it either.
So why don't we just let the next step unfold before we,
No, I'm not saying we have to do it now, I'm just saying, I'm trying to see what our options are, because it has been dragging out a long time. The season's over, and the repairs, need to be done in the beginning of the season, so.
When engineering, when is the best time to do these repairs?
You could now would be a great time to do it. But by the time you get a contractor and, you know, probably gonna get close, snow's gonna be flying by the time you get somebody on board. I mean, last word, do we know what the cost, I'm sorry, I don't know what the cost of, if we can get it under a certain threshold, we could just get 3 phone bids. And then you could move much quicker than if you had to go through the bidding process, advertising and all that kind of stuff. So that's why it's probably not a bad idea to get an estimate
You
together.
couldn't do that anyways, you'd have to wait to see what the bonding companies, I think we just want an estimate
Understanding,
for
yeah,
repairs.
and many times the buying company won't even go back to the contractor, they'll go and get a third party to come out and fix it.
Okay, so how about we talk about it at the next meeting after you've had an opportunity to reach out to them one more time,
Mhm.
of maybe a couple of options that we can decide how we want to proceed. Are you good with that?
Yeah. Options are good.
I just don't want it to be spring and we're still sitting here and now all the contractors are booked and we can't get somebody before the pool opens and then, you know.
But I don't think you want to be doing the work in the middle of the winter.
No, agreed, but.
But if you have a
but if
contractor
we
set
can-
up for when the weather
Right.
breaks, that's not that bad either, you know.
And my point is, how much is it gonna cost for another contractor to come in and do the work compared to this dragging out longer? Who knows how long this process is gonna take, and, the legal costs. Is it going to be less expensive to have another company come in there and just do it, or is it gonna be cheaper to have this resolved legally?
Well, legally, we can either have the bonding company who's put a performance bond in for the contractor. Actually, this is a maintenance bond, I believe. But there's a bond for the contractor so that if any repairs are done under the bonding company pays for it. Okay, now, council always has the option to sue the contractor outside of the bonding company, but then, it's litigation and we don't know what the recovery would be, and would have to basically get it out of the contractor, not have the bonding company write a check.
So basically, this is like an insurance claim, and we're just going through the process, and it's taking longer than we'd like.
Right. Essentially.
Okay. Good? Anything additional then for the solicitor? Okay, moving on then to the business agenda under inspection and zoning. Who wants to talk about this?
Rob?
Tom?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to look at that list of approximately 75 properties that were submitted.
And this is what's in our packet?
That's what's in the packet, and I think council will be happy to know that there is not 300 vacant abandoned properties throughout Crafton Borough. And actually going through this entire list, I think basically we have are 10 properties that could be considered vacant and abandoned. Most of the properties on the list, you can see, they were all renovated in excellent condition. There was no ordinance violations at majority of these locations. The ones that I did see, we sent letters out, and those were few and far between. I think the biggest problem and issue that I've seen while doing this work is actually, I wouldn't call them absentee landlords, but landlords that don't respond in a timely manner to the notifications that have been sent. A lot of them takes the third notification, final, I give them a 3 strike. I'll send an initial letter explaining they have some violations. The second one's the second notice, and the third's the third final notice. And I've been getting a great response from the majority of the people, working with the office staff. Normally when I get that third notification, I'll get a quick response. Those are just a few properties. Most of the ones are usually handled by the first or second notification. The landlord itself, I've been talking to him a little bit about developing a letter explaining to these landlords that are out of state or aren't local that we have tools that are available through Act 90 to actually have these people brought back to the Commonwealth and the Borough to actually come in if they're cited citations, just so they're aware that the state of Pennsylvania does have laws in place that we can go after these landlords that don't respond. And even with the ones with the code violations, there's probably only, I'd say 3 to 5 that haven't been responsive until the third and final notice. I have one that they start to piecemeal the work, I have like 2 citations issued. And I think it's an excellent program where you only have to issue a few citations. That means you're getting people to be more compliant. So, I mean, the communication line is working. I think that there are problems. I think that they're heading in the right direction. And again, I'm happy to see there wasn't 300 taken to be in a property.
Rob, how old is that list? So basically what you did is you've got a list that is probably at least, what, 5 years old? Yeah, some of these have been on here.
Oh, yeah, but there was the 2012, and then Rob, and, you know, we had come up with a list.
Right.
So we incorporated them both.
Okay, and when did you come up with the other list?
Well, I had actually had a small list that was in the computer from the previous ordinance officer. Was in
Okay,
there.
so that is over, that's at least a year old at this point.
Right.
Okay, so basically what your work did was to cross off and validate from an older list.
Correct.
We have not had an effort to actually survey in this last year the condition of the borough. I mean, I want to start right at the very beginning, right at the top of that list. There are 2 properties on Baldwin, which happen to be my street. Neither one of those 2 describe the actual condition. Both of them are abandoned, both of them are standing open, and the third one that's in the worst shape, that's falling down, isn't even on the list.
52 Baldwin is on the top 10. That's one of the ones that was recommended for demolition.
Right, but there's 3 of them. The first 3 properties there are all abandoned.
58,
They're all open.
58 Baldwin actually structurally is in good condition.
Did you go around to the back?
No.
Yeah, it's open, it's open. They're all violating at least our newest ordinances. And, you know, and that's just my street. And, you know, I think that it's good that we've gone through this list, but I think that we are fooling ourselves if we look at this list and say we've only got 10 problems.
No, that was the top 10 list for demolition.
Right, but I think that the situation in this borough is not as good as what the report of this particular list is showing.
Well, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand where you're coming from. I think what we need to do is work with the manager and Public Works Director to get some of that data from American Water or from Jordan. And I know you shake your head with regards to Jordan, but Jordan works for us. That's something that actually pestered me, and I thought about, I let it go too soon the last meeting. I think their answer to you as a contract workers for us is not adequate. I think we need to try to press them to get us the data so we can give it to engineering, get it into the system, and really make a heat map and potentially have an executive meeting about the situation, you know, have an executive session to go over the real estate issues and look at it on the computer and sort of get you look at the heat map and figure out where some of these potential issues are and where the trends are. Because the reality is, I'd like to have a public meeting about it, but you don't necessarily want to have advertise where some of these sore spots are. So I think actually it might be material for executive session to further the conversation.
I think really though, I mean, I think the community itself, or your eyes and ears, they'll call in and complain about properties.
I disagree with that. I
I do
cannot
get
tell
that,
you.
but I mean, in 52, 58 Baldwick Road, I think the majority of issues and problems on Baldwick might be those 3 properties. But it's the city side that I think is the
Oh,
worst
yeah, well,
condition.
the
Worst
city side
condition
is
in
a
the borough.
wreck, absolutely, nothing we can do.
But I mean,
about it.
riding through the borough on a regular basis, I pulled out 1 or 2 that actually we're investigating now. I'm not gonna give you the address right now, but one's on Walnut Street. One property's for sale, the one next to looks to me vacant and abandoned, there's some vehicles in the back of the yard. Letters have been sent, we're doing an internal investigation to see the status of that. I don't believe And if there is 300 properties in Crafton Borough that are vacant, abandoned, and blighted,
I
I'd
don't
be
think,
shocked.
I don't,
I'd be
I'm not
shocked.
necessarily saying that there's 300,
But-
or that it was a, you know, it was a remark that was made, it was a combination of Ingram and Crafton. All I'm saying is, looking at this list, I think that there are properties that are not being taken into account, that we're not approaching it in a scientific and data-rich way that we could, where we could be more proactive. And, you know, you can only work on what's been given to you, I understand that, but I think we're not being realistic.
The data part, really 100%, there is, I mean, technology, we're just using our field investigations. We're using
Right,
our
and
engineers.
And we were gonna use the Blight Committee, or if we're not calling them a committee, whatever, a group of volunteers that we're gonna volunteer for our blight. And isn't that what we agreed to do? Break them up and, no?
I mean, believe me, the best resource in any community are the people themselves. Nobody wants to live next to a vacant, abandoned, blighted property. And they will contact the borough, they'll contact
I
council.
disagree with that.
They'll
They'll-
contact,
Yes,
I mean-
they'll contact a borough, or not, I'm sorry, a
The
council person, but they will not, they often say, well, you know, call the borough, you know, register your complaint with the borough, and I can think of 4 or 5 that have come my way that I know that community members have not stepped up, and I know that their complaints are legitimate.
Yeah, I think we need to figure out, work with you and the manager to get some
And the
data.
Blight Committee,
And the
or
blight
whatever we're
committee,
calling
and
it.
get the data and pump it into our GIS, make the heat map, and look at trends and figure out, you know, I really appreciate the managers, calling out that, listen, if you aren't using water, or let's say you're away for 6 months, okay, fine, 12 months, okay, 18 months, 24 months, like how long do you go without having a sewer bill? All right, and then, you know, as an environmental professional, I start asking questions. Do they have a problem? There's been some issues brought to my attention by community members that maybe people are having sewer backups, and that becomes an Allegheny Health Department issue. So we definitely need to figure out an early warning system and check up on this, and then try to figure out what data we can use to help us identify some of these issues. And it's fine, I mean, if you have a property and it's in good maintenance and you decide to keep it empty and nobody's living there and it's the Taj Mahal, okay, fine. And then we'll just check it off our list, be like, perfect, full compliance. But, you know, most likely, if you're not using water and it's 24 months in, and we see a tree growing through your porch, maybe it's a problem. So we don't want it to get to that point. We want to we want to catch it early. Especially there's elderly people in the community. We have a lot of seniors in the community that are transitioning. We understand that government aid isn't keeping up with some of the indexes. And we need to figure out with the Blight Committee what resources are available to help our senior population, so we can help them with their properties, because it's very important that property maintenance is kept up. And you know, there's a lot of good resources in Allegheny County that help. And I know I personally donate through United Way, and United Way funnels funds to different organizations. So I'm really hopeful that this vacant and abandoned committee really helps motivate us to get those resources mobilized in the community.
And at this point, I mean, a list of 5 homes is better than no list and discussing how we're going to determine, you know, data and so forth, and how we're going to acquire all that. I mean, as long as we keep going forward with, you know, identifying some of the worst homes, whether it's 3 or even if it's 1, and focusing on that in the process for taking care of that, will show the community that we're serious about it. One of the things that was brought up at the COB meeting, everybody's going through this, all the other municipalities are going through this. And one of the issues is, some municipalities get funding for it, and then they don't end up doing anything with that funding, and then they have to turn it back in, which leaves a black mark on their, then getting funding for future funding for demolition and so forth. So, I mean, at this point, I think the world of all this technology and the things we're gonna, I think we should just move forward. Find some homes, start going through the process of finding out how to resolve the issues with these particular owners and so forth. And then this other stuff should fall into place once we start navigating the issues that we have.
Committees get formed. And,
Right.
I mean, if Jordan Tax is saying that they don't have the software to monitor that stuff and they can't give it to us, then they can't give it to us. And we
I
can keep
think
asking for it,
Yeah.
and we can keep asking for it, and we can go up to the next person and ask for it.
Yeah.
But if they're saying that they don't have it, like, that can't stop us, like, we still
Correct.
need to move forward.
I think, I agree with you, I just disagree with Jordan, I think we need to go back to them and say, we know you have the database, and we're the municipality, we're in charge, you work for us, tell us who have zero bills, right? It's a sort
How
exercise.
do you know?
Because
They're-
then
they're
they are an
private.
accounting firm, you have to follow general acceptable accounting
Maybe
practices.
they just have a really, really bad record
They-
keeping.
Then that's on us, we have a fiduciary
Right, so we
responsibility,
have
we need to fire
bigger
them.
issues than-
Yeah,
than
then
that.
we need to fire them, be like, listen, you're making it look as if you're not, in control of your accounting processes, and therefore, we're fiduciaries of this municipality, and if you cannot perform what we're asking you to do, then maybe we're gonna have to look elsewhere. And other people have made that recommendation that Jordan's not that great. I prefer not to think that, because that means our credibility is at stake. So I would really hope that that's not really their last and final answer, because that's a horrible answer.
I'm
Mr.
not
Jim,
gonna
do
say
you
that I don't agree
think
with you,
that
but.
Jordan Tax Service has some rules about giving us that
I
kind
think the water company does.
of, the water
I think
company?
it's a private entity, it's under the PUC. I don't think they're under any obligation to provide that information.
Do you think Jordan is in a situation where they can't provide us?
I don't know the answer to that, I'll have to look into it.
Okay.
You can certainly see if. there's-
Maybe it'll answer Phil's question if we find out if they're tied by some legal.
Off the top of my head, I don't think they are, but I can certainly look into it.
And I think, are there some names that are coming up for this committee to get moving on the blight? Didn't you have a couple of names that you were putting
Yeah,
on there?
I've asked them this.
I think Rob's doing a fantastic job in going
Yeah, no,
around looking at
I'm
these
not
properties.
disagreeing, I'm really glad that he went through this list and gave us
Yeah, and
these resolutions.
if there's something missing, then
I think there is.
he needs to know about it, and he'll add it to the list or do what needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, really,
But I know you spent a few days doing this.
I mean, if council or any resident has a property that they feel it is vacant, abandoned, or if there's blight issues, call. And I mean, we're out there every day, so, I mean, I have no problem going to do an investigation and do some research on the property.
Yeah, all right, well, we can take this offline, because
So,
I'll
Mr.
come up
Jim,
with a
can
list.
you find out about that Jordan thing for us? All right. Can we move on?
Did you have anything additional, Rob? No? Since we did these motions under Public Works, we'll move on then to administration. Are you guys good?
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2017-10-2018 MMO as required by Act 205 for the police pension for $17,894 and for non-uniform for $43,930.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, then we're on to our discussion items. So the first one being Ewing Road repairs. Anyone want to speak to this?
Do you guys have some updates?
Yeah, there was a report
Did you
showing
get a
some
copy of
options.
it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Is it in here, this packet?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially the update is, we pulled out the cost of the wall itself. So we compared what it would cost, what we think it would cost for a contractor to install that wall, and we took that cost out and just gave the cost for the materials itself. And what it would, the savings is obviously Public Works doing the work, the labor for it, and then all you would have to do is purchase materials to put that wall in. And if you did that, had Public Works do the wall, you know, Gateway could check in on them to make sure, you know, if they have any questions, we could check in, make sure that they're not having any issues putting it in. It would, you know, you could phase it too, you could have them do the wall, and then you could come in next year and pave it, you know, that way, I mean, it's all up to you guys how you wanna do it. But that's an idea, have them come in, do the wall, and then you guys can come in next year, and put in the, you know, storm sewer, improvements and the paving with the contractor, that would save you some money that way. So that's essentially what you have, in your packet.
So
it's
you
a
think
fairly
you
substantial
could do it over
savings.
3 years?
I believe so.
That'd be comfortable for everyone? So what's the bottom line?
You're still talking outlay of somewhere around $300,000. So it looks like we're saying that we'd save about $50,000 in labor, if I'm reading this report correctly, by having Public Works, is that?
I thought it was a bigger savings.
Well,
Is
it looks
it-
like to me, the first page says that the total was $353,800.
That was initially, yes.
Right, okay, so then we have the construction, the cost for the retaining wall, the materials coming in at 52,600.
Mhm.
And then with the third page where you've taken all of that stuff out, comes up at 249. So if I take 249,600, so if you round it up to 250, round the other one down to 50, you're at 3, and your original one was 350. So we're saying that, I mean, am I looking at the right report here?
Yeah.
It's the one that was in,
I just want to make sure that, so yeah, that's the initial, yep.
right? And so there's the
That's
materials.
cost for material, correct.
Right, so that's 50. This is the analysis where we took out those costs, it says two.
The materials are still in there.
Oh,
So there's
okay,
the
I'm sorry,
materials. So
okay.
you'd actually save about $100,000.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure. I thought that was the case, but I wanted to check it.
So it would go from 250, or from 350 to about 250.
250, correct. Yep.
And we could do that over 3 years? You think? You think we could do that over 3 years?
Well, other things in the borough that needs to be completed, that's council's decision. I mean,
That would end up having to go into the paving, probably,
part of it, yeah, absolutely would go into the paving.
and we already have a paving plan for the next couple of years.
Sure, I mean, we can always deviate from it, I mean, you know, it's not written in stone, but I mean, it's recommendation.
So we would have to set budget time.
Budget time's coming up.
No, I know, I'm saying definitely discuss it during our budget.
Was that, Ewan Road, was that not put into the program because of the major issues with it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cost of,
So that's not even in any of them?
No.
we've been pulling it out,
Mhm.
yeah. It definitely comes out. I mean, the pavement management program shows it as a high priority,
Mhm.
but it's, you know, it's a matter of having the budget and the money to put into it to correct it.
To clarify something here, Ewing Road, what was done by the water company? Did they just do the replace the line, or they
They
actually?
just went up to where
They-
the access road to the
But
fence.
did they do
Yeah.
full, you know, side to side?
For now, they put in a binder course, and then they'll come back in, well, O'Brien
Right
will
now,
come
it's
back in,
incomplete.
mill, and it's not done yet.
Right, okay,
It's not
I
done
just
yet.
want.
They'll
just
come
wanna
back
make
in,
sure.
mill, and reserve us.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah, because I've driven down there a few times, but I wasn't sure like where in process we were with everything.
Yeah, at least the water company's done.
Contractor's supposed to move it tomorrow. Profile.
Yep, yeah, they'll be profile milling, so they'll be hitting the sides and putting some crown in some areas of the road, but yeah. Should look better.
Yeah, I mean, personally, when I first got elected, I said I thought it was really important that we evaluate all the major needs and all of our deferred maintenance that we've had and figure out potentially if it's a viable solution to catch up with our deferred maintenance that we've incurred over the past 20 years and see if a Penvest loan or a bond would be necessary to help the borough catch up on all the improvements that we seek. So I think we can talk about that at budget time. I don't think at this point we should consider committing to where we are. It's very nice that you guys got to the point where we have some value engineering that you guys proposed, and the Public Works would be able to do this. I think this is actually could be a great component of part of the of a bond or of a Penvest program. There's a lot of value here with the connectivity and integrating the tenets of our comp plan. It's going to provide a lot of value, but at this point, I agree with the manager, there are a lot of other needs. So we need to figure out at budget time how we're going to take the revenues from the road tax, from the general fund, and from the sewer program to sort of help us manage these costs and budget appropriately. So that's what I'd say.
Okay, so the next item is curbs, gutters, and cartways, and it's a continued discussion from the previous meeting. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the previous meeting, so I don't, if we could talk about that.
Yeah, I'll give you.
Yep.
Is everybody okay with me catching me up? So all right. So I began the dialogue on potentially clarifying in our ordinances who's responsible for the curbs. Right now, it's ambiguous to the residents as to who's responsible for the curbs. I make the argument that I think the borough should take custody of the curbs on any roadway that's owned by the borough, because it's integral to stormwater management, and we have a lot of things to think about with regards to compliance to EPA. And then it's sort of a contract, a new deal with the community, and that new deal would be, we're going to make it very clear to you that the borough is responsible for the cartway and the integrity of that cartway, and the curb is part of that cartway. However, it is your responsibility to maintain your sidewalks and your trees, and to work with Shade Tree Commission on those items with regards to conflicts that come up with the trees and the sidewalks. And I understand there's a lot of back and forth between the municipality and the residents on that, and even our real estate community, our realtors make claims that we're costing the residents, deals on the real estate. I understand where they're coming from, and we have to strike a balance. And many residents make the argument, we pay a road tax, and we thought the curb was part of the road. So I think we owe it to them to clarify what they own and what the municipality owns, and how they need to treat those curbs, and what activities are prohibited and or required of them to maintain those curbs, because there's a lot of ownership. You can't go outside. I've benefited from having all new curbs around my home on Clearview, and I take it very seriously to take care of them and to maintain them and make sure that the trees and everything, parking, contractors, everything, that they're not being damaged. We can't, go footing the bill for curbs only for the residents to destroy them. So it's it's very important that we lay out for them what their responsibilities are, but we definitely have a lot of maintenance that needs to go on with regards to the curbs, and that's my position as a council person here. So.
I'm not sure I understand what
It's
you're
like,
talking about.
is the
I mean, do you know what he's
sidewalk-
talking about, Phil?
So,
Putting this all in print as an ordinance? As far, I mean, the curbs are ours,
no,
There's not-
the curb belongs to the sidewalk currently.
but we're responsible for the curbs.
Who's we? You as a property owner, or you as a municipality?
Municipality.
I did a little research. I know this has been a discussion between me and Ann and different, as far as maintenance needs. I reached out to different communities, and I know as a previous director for the city of Pittsburgh, that the curbs are part of the sidewalk. PennDOT responsible for the cartways, not the curbs, the gutters. I reached out to 10 different communities. Only one has a curb program. It's very similar to our community, where they have a $400,000 road program. They also budget $250,000 for their streets. They call it streets. So in essence, if you start taking over the responsibility of the curbs throughout the municipality, then you get to definitely increase your budget by probably at least similar to this guy, $250,000. Because the cost for curb repair, again, 10 communities, 10 surrounding communities, including the city of Pittsburgh. From here, I called and asked about residential curb programs. None of them did it except when there was reconstruction. Like Harris was a reconstruction. They put the curbs in, they reconstructed the street. To go and maintain 32 miles of curbs, you're gonna take on a pretty big burden throughout the borough. And you're gonna have to pick and choose which curbs you do. Because I mean, how do you make a determination if Marcia calls and wants her curb repaired, and then Phil calls and wants his repaired? How do you prioritize the curb? Every one of these communities I contact, except for the one, said that no, they don't do residential curb repairs unless there's a reconstruction of the street. And that was only one included in the reconstruction of the street.
I'm sorry, I just want to understand, where did this come from that we are now questioning if the curb belongs to the sidewalk or to the street?
There's no clear defined ordinance. There's nothing in the states who's responsible for the curb or sidewalk in the borough ordinances.
The sidewalk, does that not, there's not something clear about the
Oh, the
sidewalk?
sidewalk, the curb.
Okay.
It's ambiguous in the borough code itself, because I think I sent Phil a copy of that.
Yeah.
Really, curbs and gutters, maintenance and responsibility are normally responsibility of the property.
My argument is we prioritize a lot of different things. So the property owners don't have a right to, let's say, push us to fix one curb over another. It has to be based off of criteria, and the criteria should be established by Public Works and by engineering. And my philosophy would be those roadways that are integral to our stormwater management process need to be prioritized, and then we work down the rank, okay? Because there are parts, let's say, we haven't finished the rest of the Clearview project, okay? People say, well, Clearview, the end of Clearview is fine. Okay, fine. The roadway is okay for right now, all right, it's passable. However, when we have these heavy rains, we have the water cascade down the hill, all right? And we need to try to keep the water in the roadway into the gutter system, right? That's my argument. Any part of this community, let's say Bar is another good example. You have the curb's been, broken up, it's aged, it's going through the deterioration process, and how does that affect the integrity of the roadway? So we need to see how those curbs impact the integrity of our roadways, because we're on the hook for the roadways. So it only makes sense that we come up with a comprehensive plan to engage ourselves where those curbs are going to undermine the integrity of our roadways, and therefore the prioritization and working with engineering would make most sense. And I think it would help us escalate some parts of the community that really need a lot of help.
Council's gonna have to make a decision. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously, the curb is, again, in all my experience in public works with the city of Pittsburgh, the curb has always been part of the sidewalk. And violations are written for bad curbs, just like you're stating. If there's a problem with stormwater management and that curb has an issue, then the ordinance was always that you go out and cite the property owner to do the repairs on the curb, just because you decide.
Yeah, but I argue with that because let's say, I know the city of Pittsburgh doesn't have the greatest reputation, all right? So I don't know if I really want to gauge myself against the city of Pittsburgh. I think we
Well, it's
need.
not just against the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's not, it's just 10
10
different,
other
right,
communities.
there's 10 different
around us as
communities
well.
that I can give you the list. I don't want to announce it here in the public, but I'll give you the list. And these are all surrounding communities around Crafton Borough. This is everything that goes out to the airport, all the way down to South Bay.
Right, and you see a lot of communities that have gone to asphalt wedge curbs, all right? That's a solution.
And that's when they reconstruct the street, put the asphalt wedge curb in.
Right. But we also have something in our community that's about part of the aesthetics and heritage and things that we have to consider about our municipality and what we want the look and feel of the community to be. So there's another component to it. It's a very complex problem. So I know we're not gonna solve it this evening, but I think that's where the dialogue is.
Budget time.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Phil, I really appreciate your input on this, but before I even think about looking at curbs, I mean, I hope these people on Union Road don't find out we're talking about a curb program here instead of their road, but I have to leave, but appreciate your input, but I wouldn't be interested in any money toward curbs, believe me.
All right.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, did you still have information that you wanted to share?
Yeah, try to be brief. I went to the COG meeting, and again, when you sit down with people, representatives from other municipalities, you find out that everybody's basically going through the same thing, trying to work together, come up with funding, trying to come up with solutions on similar issues, including abandoned properties and blight, and so one of the packets that they gave me were some articles that I can share with anybody. I can send out the list of what the articles are on, just in case anybody's interested and they want to read up on some of the.
Anything on blight, are they gonna do anything with tearing down houses again, or is that strictly gone?
Well, that was, again, it was brought up where, you have some municipalities that, they get funding and then it's supported by the COG. And then for some reason, they'll change, like they'll have demolition. They're going towards demolition, then they say the contractor will come in and renovate the house. And all of a sudden, that funding isn't used, so it has to go back. And as soon as it goes back, then, the county's like, why are you sending this money back? We're gonna need this money. Why are you sending it back? And it's putting the pocket in a bad light. So basically, what it boils down to is commitment. If we're, like when we're talking about a list and so forth, it doesn't matter what kind of a list we come up with, as long as, it's comprehensive, but as long as we tackle the issue, we're committed to tackling the issue and taking the steps to let the residents know that these are the steps that we're taking and we're not going to deviate from them. If this property is in bad shape and it's slated for demolition, it's going to be demolished. This is what we support. Instead of, going into a couple of different directions and the residents are, wondering what's going on, we want the residents to see what our process is, so they have a clear idea of how we're approaching the problem and the solutions that we're coming up with.
Did the other COGs have that done? The other organizations?
It didn't sound like that they had any kind of a committee, but they were thinking about having a speaker come the next COG meeting, talking about how to handle some of the issues when it comes to the property. I mean, and you're welcome, if you want to come to that, and I can let you know, definitely. And you're all, anybody's welcome to go to the meeting. very valuable information on, similar issues that the municipalities are going through. I mean, just to give you an example, the Coriopolis, they have a new train station project. That's, and again, they discuss the funding and the process for that in case we were going to do any kind of a, building project to that scale in Crafton. They're talking about the green, there's an article on the Green Light Go grant program. DCED releases civil service guide from municipalities, talk about military programs, just all different articles that are in this packet that I can. If anybody's interested, I'm sure not, everybody's interested in the whole packet, but if it's something that catches your interest and you want to go further into it, they're a good organization to contact. Also, the local government academy, they're going to start having programs that will be able to go online, classes and so forth that will teach us different things instead of having to go to an on-site thing. So they're trying to catch up with technology. So we can become more informed without having to take, go to a specific space and have classes. So, that's it.
Colin, are you okay? Thank you. Before we get to our community announcements, did you want to have a discussion about the next goal?
I just wanted to give everybody an up-to-date. There's what they call an on-board information sheet that I have to submit. So I've prepared the application, and so I'm ready to submit it, but Ingram is not responding to my email request to confirm that all the information is correct. I mean, I just pulled it off.
Now, this is for the the next
Emergency
system
regime,
that we're going to do.
right.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for them to confirm. I'm giving them until tomorrow, and I'm just going with it. So if they have to make, I guess we can make changes. But the one thing I wanted to share is that through the local government academy, I applied for a $10,000 grant, and we received the whole $10,000. So the first 2 years will be paid for, and we're going to do a mailing. So my idea was like an 11 by 17. And we would fold it in half and then, fold it in half again and mail it. But the front will be nixle, all the information on residents apply, and you can call, you can email, you can text, you can, what the information is used for, and blah, blah, blah. So the front page is because it's going to be Crafton Ingram, like it's going to go to both communities. And then on the inside will be Crafton information, and I gave you a draft of the email or the newsletter that we prepared, and we forgot the mayor's name, so that has to be it. So that was unintentional, but then I'm waiting for Ingram. They were supposedly going to meet tonight and get me something together. And then on the back, of course, the bottom would be the mailing label, and the top would be probably more Nixle information. So we received, it's $4,000 a year, so that's $8,000. And then, so that'll cover the cost of printing and hopefully mailing. If not, pretty darn close. So we got the full $10,000.
Excellent.
So,
Colin, would you like to talk about the Oktoberfest?
Yeah, it's coming up this Saturday, and the weather looks like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be mild, no rain on either side of it, so it's looking good. Entertainment is all lined up, and a lot of talk about that. Shaw's is lined up to be delivering us some great beer, and the library crew, the board, and a bunch of volunteers are going to be cooking brats and hot dogs and soft pretzels and the like. So come on down.
And that's from 2?
2 to 7. Probably our main act probably go till about 7:30.
Okay, and tickets are available?
Either at the library online or day of.
So there, at the
Yeah.
event, you can purchase?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Want to talk about the next couple?
Sure. Saturday, October 1st, over at the Crafton Fire Department from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll be offering vaccinations to dogs and cats. There's a flyer in the back. They're offering microchipping, rabies, all that kind of stuff. So it's a really good event, and it's very inexpensive. The microchipping is only $15 per animal.
What'd you say, Alice?
It must be
That's
the
a Sunday.
30th.
It's,
Oh, it's on Sunday. not
Oh, you're right, it's Sunday.
Saturday.
Pardon
right,
me.
it's Sunday.
It's Sunday, October 1st. Pardon me.
Not to interfere with Booktober.
Right.
That's right, it's the next day. So it's a happy weekend in Crafton, that's all.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Hard to Recycle Collection Event, Saturday, October 7th. Cell phones, computers, microwaves, DVD players, it's all through the county. There's a flyer in the back if you any information. American Red Cross and Crafton Ingram Rotary came to
Wait.
us, and
where is this gonna be?
it's through the
Oh.
county, so it's
Oh.
over in the back. There's
Okay.
various locations.
Okay, sorry.
So American Red Cross and the Crafton Ingram Rotary are sponsoring a blood drive from noon to 5 over in the community center. And the blood donated will be benefiting the victims of Hurricane Harvey and Irma. It's Monday, October 9th from noon to 5. So you can register that day. You can go on the Crafton Ingram Rotary website, or you can go to the American Red Cross and register online there as well. You can also register the day of. So we hope that everybody will come out and donate blood. Budget meetings begin at 6:30 at council chambers on October 16th to 30th, November 6th, November 8th, and November 15th.
Okay. Any additional announcements? Any additional citizen comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.